Welcome to another episode of the Sports Sentiment. I am your host, Nick Urias, and we are back once again talking college football. Week 7 has officially passed us, and I can't believe I'm already saying that Week 8 is already coming. We're already, I would say, halfway through the season now, more than halfway. There was just so many storylines. The Mountain West is kind of turning into a wide open conference with a bunch of surprises along the way. We're going to most certainly talk about that. Big picture, top 25 stuff. Things are getting a little crazy in that regard, but that's why we're here. We're here to talk all about it. And joining me today and for this week's episode to just recap all the Week 7 action, Emily Van Buskirk, college football sports writer and podcaster. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. Any chance to talk college football, I'm there. You don't even have to work too hard. I'm here.
I know. You and I were probably just sitting on our couch, just watching games all weekend long. And honestly, sometimes those are the best weekends, So I love it.
It was a bummer. I will say I got credentialed to Ohio State, Illinois. So I was supposed to be at that game, which I was very much excited for. I do a weekly quarterback ranking piece for PFSN. And I've been very much looking forward to seeing Julian Sayin and to seeing Luke Altmaier play in person. But unfortunately, the way the airlines are right now and the way travel is, my flight got canceled, got, stuck in Dallas. And so I just didn't make it, which is unfortunate to not see the environment, although the game kind of got out of hand. So I'm okay that I wasn't there. But I got to watch all the other games, which is the plus about not covering a game on the weekend. So.
Yeah, I don't know, because I've asked other media this. I personally love, covering the Friday games, like how San Jose State had New Mexico on a Friday night. And, sometimes I'll be broadcasting the game. Other times I will not. But sometimes I prefer the Friday night games. And as much as that might be like a little bit of a hot take, maybe amongst like journalists or whatever, or broadcasters, but I'm sorry. I'm just a fan of the game, and I just love having getting my day started at 8:30 out here on the West Coast, and then just not doing anything for 12 hours. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, I agree with you. I do think it makes your job easier as a writer if you cover more than one team. Like if you're a conference or you cover nationally, like myself, it does make it easier when you're able to watch all the games. When you cover a game on a Saturday, like if I had gone to that Ohio State game, that was an 11 a.m. kick, right? And so my day it's pretty long, and then I'm going to miss a lot of the chunk of games that I wish I could be watching. So I would have to catch up on highlights. So there is something to be said for being able to kind of see a little bit of everything, but I will probably give me a Saturday. I would love a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, slate. I'm actually going to do that in a few weeks here. I'm going to go to Texas and do a Thursday game, Friday night game, and a Saturday game. And those are my favorite. Like give me all the games all weekend in attendance. And I would take that over the couch, I think.
Fair enough. So as far as the Mountain West is concerned, I know you've kind of had your tabs on the conference. You were at media days. We said hello, back during the summertime. I know you talked to some coaches and players along the way. You've just been monitoring everything, but I know you wrote a piece on, just Walker Egan and, San Jose State, and I've seen you at a couple of the games. Just a crazy game out there in Laramie. And, I even tweeted it out, like weird stuff happens in Laramie. And I feel like I just say it every single week. Like when the Cowboys play games at War Memorial Stadium, they're just kind of never really out of it. And as crazy as that sounds, and as sluggish as they are. And, San Jose State has the 2 touchdown lead going into half. Walker Egan has the connection with Danny Scudero where he has 4 touchdowns in the first half. And then the wheels just ultimately fell off. I know Walker left with the injury, and then Xavier Ward and Tama Amasone came in. But like that for San Jose State, that's one that you just absolutely have to have. And Wyoming kind of just got one of those crazy magical second halves. I mean, when you have the interception, right, where the ball gets deflected, it bounces off the lineman's helmet, and then it's returned for a pick six. I'm like, okay, I know where we're at in the Mountain West right now.
Yeah, it was. That was the one thing. I went out to Laramie earlier this season to cover them against Utah, which ended up being kind of a weird game as well. I think it was like 3-0 at half, which is so strange. And I was texting with Walker Egot's family a little bit, being like, "Hey, this is. I know you guys know, but this is a weird environment. He's got to be on his toes, head on a swivel, like ready for kind of any situation." So the halftime stat lines were so impressive, right? And it was like, okay, the San Jose State team has found its rhythm. They know what they're doing. And for the most part, I think they have, right? But then you get a couple of weird things like you're talking about happen. Some series don't go well. And it's so easy to stumble there because then you have a crowd that's crazy. They were doing the beer snake. They were all drinking. I mean, they get after it in Laramie. It's rowdy. And so that momentum can swing. They are a second half team. I generally see them do a little better once they settle in. And their defense is tough. Like they run a very hard nose, in your face, like they win the line of scrimmage a lot. And so I knew that was going to be a battle. I think San Jose State did what they needed to do. It's just unfortunate for Walker to have that injury and then not have the guys come in and be ready for that. And I think there were flashes from both of the other quarterbacks that you could see their potential. And that there was times when I thought that young guy, he was going to maybe lead them to that. And he has an arm, but it's just hard in that scenario to get in and have to lead your team off the cuff like that. So hopefully Walker, everything turns out good from all the checks they're doing on him today. And maybe it's not a huge deal in the arm or the shoulder, but God bless him for coming back in that last series. I mean, what a tough kid to come in and fight, clearly in pain, clearly holding his arm like it's not working, but he's such a fighter. So that was impressive.
Yeah. Coach Ken kind of said after the game, like he got cleared by the staff to come back in, by the doctors, that is.
Yeah.
So for the final 2 drives. But my gosh, when you get outscored 21-0 in the second half, that I know the defense has really kind of been all over the place. Like they just, as much as they put up good stats, like Jalen Boehner's had 3 interceptions in 2 games. They've been excited about Jalen Thomas. There's just a little too many breakdowns. Like they kind of just give away those. There's too many chunk plays in these games. For them. And, that just might be with the youth of the secondary, but like that's stuff that's got to, ultimately, get corrected. And they got Utah State coming on the road again on Friday night. That's certainly a tough spot. I kind of had that, because this is like a really tough stretch. You play 2 games in altitude in 13 days. I kind of had it as like a 1-and-1 type stretch. And okay, if you could, split that and, move forward here, that was probably going to be like okay, you would have taken that scenario, but now that you're 2-4 and 1-1 in league play, like all of a sudden the Friday night game kind of becomes a must win for your championship sake, especially with, we'll get into it, but like with all the other teams that have kind of, just blossom into, kind of a surprise team in the league. So
it's kind of crazy. The Mountain West is wild right now.
Yeah, it's crazy, but
I will say this about San Jose State: the penalties kill me. You cannot have penalties like that of that caliber, and that's something that Coach Ken hates. When he was at Navy, they're one of the least penalized programs because they're very disciplined. So I think that's probably killing him right now. In that these guys have got to tighten it up. Like you just have to be better when it comes to that stuff. And I saw this weekend in general a lot of penalties that killed games. I don't know if you watched the Stanford game at all, Stanford SMU, and that was insane. I mean, it was the most penalties I've ever seen for a Stanford program, and they were costly. It cost them the game. So I'm seeing kind of a lot of that in college football right now, and I'm not sure where the discipline went, but we need to get that back and back on track. So if they can clean that up and protect the football, I think they have a real shot. Utah State is not an easy place to play, but it's not the hardest place. So I think you're right to say a split, but they need to win that.
Danny Scudero. So he broke the most touchdowns, like SJSU record wise, in a single game. He did it in a half. I know he tied like the Mountain West record.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's going on with this kid right now is kind of incredible. I mean, he's got over 800 receiving yards in 6 games. He's got 100 more receiving yards than the guy behind him in the country. So by a significant margin, he's clearing everybody. I saw his target share.
Yeah.
He had 25 targets at Wyoming.
Yeah.
Like
it's crazy. Someone was very quick to call out, like, that he had X amount of drops too. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Calm down, everybody. Like,
right.
yeah, people drop the ball. It's all right. But he did seem to kind of come out of nowhere. But I think the thing about San Jose State is we were waiting for what receiver was going to emerge, who Egit was going to find as his guy, like we saw with Nash last year. And there was a very capable stable. There is a very capable stable of receivers. But it is cool that it ended up being Scudero. And he's I don't want to say small because that's not, but I was a little surprised. He's very quick, and I do think he has good hands despite, people tweeting about him dropping the ball. But it's been a fun surprise to watch him emerge and become a target for Egit. So hopefully he's healthy again, and we see that duo continue for the rest of the season. So
100%. Just to put the bow on this game, Wyoming, offensive, defensive, and special teams touchdown, kind of right on brand for that team. San Jose State now on the season, 4 for 12 on field goals. Not good.
Not great.
And I mean, they're just kind of the wheels are kind of spinning right now.
Yeah.
For that team. So, they got to get back on track. And obviously,
I think they will. Coach Ken is a great leader of men. He's a great motivator. And I do feel like he will find a way through it. And the guys on the team, they're just a good caliber of kids. So I do have faith, but would love to see a significant win, not just a win, but like maybe let's, turn on the gas a little bit and cook when they go to Utah State.
So I don't know if you caught the Friday night Fresno Colorado State game. Fresno's been the run the damn ball team this year. Which has been pretty fun to watch if you like the ground and pound teams, but obviously that's not going to work when you're trailing by 3 touchdowns at halftime. I did not expect this from the Rams. I don't think anybody expected this. It just kind of seemed like the desperate Colorado State team were like, okay, we've changed play callers, we've changed quarterbacks.
Yeah,
everyone's kind of playing for their jobs here. And, here they are, Colorado State's kind of changing their identity going back to last year where, hey, we're going to run the ball now. That was just a result I didn't see coming. Fresno State, 4 turnovers in the game, not good either.
No. And I think going into it, I did a preview piece. I don't do a lot of preview pieces, but every so often I'll pick up a preview piece for a week of a game that I'm interested in. And I'm working on a feature on EJ Warner because I do believe he's a very good quarterback. I think his journey has been tough. It almost feels Goldilocks-esque where he's just trying to find a fit for the kind of football he plays. And I thought, okay, Fresno State, Matt Entz, I think Entz is a great coach. He does love running the football. He loves fullbacks. But he also, understands who Warner is and what kind of player he is. So I thought this is going to be his year. I did the preview for this. I obviously picked Fresno State. I will tell you, Colorado State had a bunch of injuries. So the fact that their secondary held up, they were missing 2 starting quarterbacks, I believe. And I'm shocked. And this is the thing is like, no matter how much you know about football, how much research you do about stats and injuries and whatever, there is something that happens on the field between these young men that is intangible and cannot be accounted for. You don't know when that spark is going to go. And that's just what happened. They had everything click. They all decided to fight. And Fresno State was in quicksand very early and couldn't get out. And I don't think they're that type of team that really can. So even though they've been leading Mountain West and been kind of ahead of it, I don't know that they have that kind of foot on your neck mentality to finish it out that way. I would love to see that because I do like the team and I enjoy the way they play football. And Fresno State kind of deserves it. I'm like they deserve to have something. It's been a little while, and it'd be nice to see them be a contender. But that was bad. It was bad. And you got to bounce back from that, because that bad game could slide into more bad games. And I think their schedule is they have to play San Diego State, Boise State, and Wyoming all in a row. And that's tough. So they got to shake it off.
Yeah. Fresno, I mean, they got like 4 good backs on that team, and like their offensive line is rock solid.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have like the personnel like at wide receiver that they've had like the past couple of years. That just might be with the way Matt Entz wanted it, as far as, personnel and such. But the Josiah Freeman at wide receiver, he's kind of showed some flash, the past couple weeks. I've liked what he's done. Nice. I don't know if you've gotten to see Colorado State's linebacker, Owen Long.
Yeah,
I have. Leading the country in tackles.
Yeah. And it's so funny. He wasn't even their highest graded linebacker going into this game, but he's incredible. He is very fun to watch.
Yeah, he's just all over the place.
I do like him. Yeah. I mean, Colorado State has athletes. Like, they have guys that are good football players. So I guess to see them put this together was great, but it felt weird. I don't know. Like, when you think something going in and it just turns you on your head. That's how the Mountain West feels this year, is we all thought we kind of knew what was going to be the pecking order of things. And really, I don't know. It could be, there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of different teams right now.
100%. The one team that has surprised me as far as, just how far they've kind of just dropped down the totem pole is Air Force. I mean, they're in a shootout every week now.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, because you wouldn't expect, I guess, maybe Air Force to kind of, really be in high scoring shootouts. You kind of expect them, just to truncate the game as much as possible. Losing 51-48 in Las Vegas to UNLV. UNLV is 6-0. I haven't really given them too much credit for it, just because they've kind of just been a little bit, I wouldn't say flaky, but I don't know, like their strength of schedule hasn't really jumped off the page, but they're getting it done in league play so far. I know they got Boise State on deck, which is a game they always have circled now, but I mean, this Air Force team, the defense, especially on the back end, has very much struggled. But man, I talked to the Air Force kids at Media Day, and I asked them, okay, who's your player that we're going to know about by the time the league season starts? And they all said Liam Zarka.
Interesting.
And here's Liam Zarka, just tearing it up with the numbers.
Yeah.
It's funny because Air Force, this is probably like their best passing offense that they've had in like, since I've been watching, college football on a weekly basis. And then, they kind of just struggle on defense, but man, they are extremely young there defensively, and you're seeing it.
Yeah, it's fun to see the service academies throwing the ball. We're seeing it at Navy too this year with Blake Horvath, and it's fun because I'll always be a run the ball person. Like, I love it. Give me running backs any day of the week, but it is showing that they're able to evolve and they're able to do different things and create problems for teams that play them. So I enjoy it. In that game, really, I like Anthony Calandria. I think he is very impressive. And I am a little surprised that UNLV is kind of stumbling their way through this and winning games under Dan Mullen in his first year. We did spend time with them at Media Day, and I do like Coach Mullen. I thought it was an interesting hire. I didn't quite understand it or wrap my head around it, but he's a really good coach. He knows a lot about football. So I was curious to see how that was going to go with the culture there and how they were going to fit into it. But it is very surprising that they managed to each week escape defeat, and they're building and building. So I would not have thought they would be 6-0, but here we are. Anthony Calandri, though, is very good, and it's fun to watch him play football. He's a very good quarterback.
Yeah, he had 360 passing yards.
Yeah,
7 rushes for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah.
Their running back is really fun. Jayden Thomas.
Yes, I like.
I know. I've heard a lot of Rebel fans online like, how come is he not getting enough carries? Because he averaged 8 yards a carry on this game on 11 rushes. I would say he needs more touches. I know he's kind of been on the injury report the past couple weeks, so that might be something to do with it. But man, they're kind of just getting out of these games with the skin of their teeth.
They're just stumbling through and they're rolling. And I don't know that there'll be another. Well, I guess they play, like you said, at Boise State, which I don't know. I mean, this is tough because Boise State is not obviously the same team that we saw last year. So, but they're not. You can't count them out. But it's a lot closer, so that could be a bit of a shootout in Boise. And then they have like a relatively manageable slate the rest of the way. You know, New Mexico at home, at Colorado State, Utah State at home, Hawaii at home, and then at Nevada. Those are all very winnable games. So could we see UNLV undefeated run the table? I mean, yeah, that's a very high probability at this point, which is not what you would think when we were going into the season at Media Day. So
right. I mean, yeah. As high as they were kind of projected, they were kind of a mystery team.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because Mullen brought in all like the 3-time transfers that were once upon a time like 4 or 5-star guys, and then offensively, it's like, okay, what do we got here with all the change in, you know, play callers and such? But yeah, they've been impressive, and obviously the Boise State game is one that they'll have circled. Air Force has Wyoming. They host Wyoming. I hope Gillenborg's back for Wyoming.
I got to tell you, I feel extremely responsible for some of these injuries because I do my features every year, and I've been wanting to write about Gillenborg. I think he's incredible. His story is so incredible. How he found the game of football late and how he's risen to this success that he's had. He's like a true gritty player. And we sat down at Media Day and I did this feature on him, and I'm not kidding you. I published the feature. The next week I go to the game to see him, and he's hurt immediately, and he hasn't been back since Utah. So I really hope they don't really say whether he's coming back or not. They haven't really kept us updated on what's going on, and I haven't managed to talk to him. So, but the same thing was with Walker. I published the story on Walker, and then the next game he gets hurt. So I feel a little bit cursed. I need to maybe take a step back and not do this to people. But I do hope Gillenborg gets back because he was a draft prospect. Like, he is someone people were looking at. His body type is good. He's big. He's strong. He has great hands. Like, he is a fun player to watch, and he was going to get a lot of attention. So I do hope, you know, that he gets back soon because it's starting to slip away now. His chances there, but I think so. I just don't know what the injury is, and they haven't really been talking about it. So maybe we'll see him. I don't know.
So Boise State, they had New Mexico on Saturday coming off the Notre Dame loss. I mean, you knew that they were going to be pissed off after, you know, not having a good offensive, you know, output at Notre Dame. 41-25. So I saw this, and, you know, I was kind of like, okay, wow, the stat kind of sounds astronomical, but when you kind of put it all together, you're like, okay, that sounds right. Spencer Danielson, Boise State head coach, has not lost a Mountain West game yet.
I guess that's true.
Even when he had the interim tag, when they won the championship 2 years ago.
Wow. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. He is another good motivator of men. Him and Coach Ken are on that level. They're just very different how they go about it. You know, Coach Danielson's very outspoken and kind of fired up, and Coach Ken can be like that too, but he's a little more quieter leadership but Danielson, these kids would follow him to the ends of the earth. I went to the Raiders game a couple of weekends ago to cover Ashton, and the way that he even still talks about Coach and how he prepared him, and they talk every week. You know, these kids love him. They would run through brick walls for him. So, and we literally saw that with Ahmed Hassanin last year. Like, he literally would run through a brick wall. So I guess it's not surprising, but I don't know that they're doing it. The winning is a little different now. It looks a little different. Right. It's more, like you said, by the skin of your teeth. It's more putting it together as opposed to, you know, a finesse game start to finish. So it's a little patchy, but they're getting it done. And that's kind of what Spencer does. I do love Dylan Riley. I love that he's come out and been a running back for them. Because I know Sire Gaines was a guy that everyone talked about, and he's great too. But I watched Dylan Riley last year when he would get in from time to time when they would take Ashton out, and he's incredible. He's so fast. So it's fun to watch their run game.
Yeah, that run game's good. Man, Cage Casey, the left tackle. Yeah. That is like so when he goes into like the NFL draft meetings, because he's gonna declare, of course.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna be that. There's gonna be like two teams. Like when they go in and meet with him one-on-one, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, like this guy. This
This
guy's
is the
not
time.
only really good on the football field, but he's got the character off the field too."
He's an incredible human being. I sat down with him at Media Day as well, and I'm waiting to run a story on him. But I will tell you this, Spencer Danielson told me that he would have a package for Cage Casey to run fullback. He promised that there is a package out there where Cage Casey gets to play fullback. So we have not seen it yet, but we're keeping our eyes open for that. So
All right.
Other teams beware.
Yeah. Maybe they'll package that for UNLV this week for the big Mountain West.
That would be a good one to do it for, I think.
Yeah. As far as the New Mexico side is concerned, they've been impressive. Like I know the scores, in their 2 Mountain West games have kind of been, not the greatest, but they're feisty. They're kind of getting the most out of what they got. I feel like I know they've had some injuries defensively. I personally thought Jason Eck was a home run hire for them. Just to kind of, rebuild that program, just get some people at the games. They had the sellout game versus New Mexico State a few weeks back.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing everything in year one. And then, getting, the UCLA win, on top of that, where I'm like, yeah, this is kind of how you kind of build it back up here in Albuquerque. Some of these Mountain West games for them might be a little lopsided as we go forward here, but I like the progress.
Yeah, I think they are. It's hard because the game that I really watched them was the San Jose State game. And, I don't think Lane played as well in that game as he normally does. So San Jose State did a good job of covering that. But I do think they are good. They're a fun team to watch for sure. And that UCLA win now means more than, just beating a team that, firing the coach that wasn't doing well. But, they turn around and beat a top 10 team. And now that win looks a lot better for some of these Mountain West guys that beat UCLA. So I'm not mad at their resume. It's even the loss to Michigan, you can't be super, upset about because it was a hard fought game. So you're right, though. They do have an interesting stretch. I think that UNLV game in Vegas will be interesting when New Mexico meets them there. I think that's going to be a good clash. So.
Yeah, I would actually agree. New Mexico could have a legitimate shot there, I feel like.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
So the team that has kind of really surprised me the most has been San Diego State.
Yeah.
From like a win-loss perspective. So their defense, they returned 10 starters from last year to this year. So this defense as a whole through 6 games is allowing 12 points per game. That's second best in the country. They're allowing 260 yards per game. That's 10th in the country. They've just been flying all over the place. Their cornerback, Chris Johnson, had a pick 6 versus Nevada in the 44-10 win. Trey White, their edge rusher, I would say he's on like NFL radar. He was heading into the year, I would probably say so still.
Yeah.
Man, they just defensively, they're so good. And I think offensively is maybe what surprised me the most is the fact that Jayden Denegal can like run the offense the way I feel like Sean Lewis wants it to be ran.
Yeah.
Their ground attack, like they're getting it done there. They're wide receivers, which, their offense has always been the problem, right? And, when you're hanging 44 in a Mountain West game, you really can't ignore that. So, I mean, this has been the shocker of the league so far. Not maybe their defense was probably better. I wouldn't maybe had it like the numbers that they're putting up now, but offensively has really shocked me. I think I read like during the preseason that they haven't had like a 2,500 yard passer in like 8 years. Like they just haven't gotten the quarterback play, and Denegal's doing the job.
He is. He's incredible. He made our grade last week prior to these games. He was 5th of our top 10 quarterbacks with our ranking system. And I think he had a B. He was graded a B because he is very good. He has a lot of physical tools. And he doesn't make mistakes. So not a lot of interceptions, doesn't fumble the ball, is very, very careful with the football. And he's big, he can run. One of the interesting things I saw about San Diego State prior to this weekend was that they had more wins this season than in 2024, which was crazy. And they were actually one of 7 FBS teams to show that improvement. So there were actually 7 teams last year that now have more wins this season than they did all of last year. So that's, progress. That's good. But I think San Diego State has always been a running school, and we've always seen great running backs come out of there. So yeah, to have a guy under center that can lead the offense through the air is a big deal for them.
Yeah. I think the big thing is as well, like they're not forcing him to do too much either.
Mhm.
Like I think when you look at like the numbers, you're like, okay, like at the end of these games, you're like, okay, he's only having like 18 pass attempts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like last year when they had the freshman Danny O'Neal, like he was kind of like having like these 30 to like 35
Oh, wow.
games where he was having that many pass attempts. And
Yeah.
I think they're kind of just adapting to like everything around them. And like you said, like, hey, just move the chains, like hand the ball off. And when we ask you to throw, go deliver for us. So I don't think they're putting too much pressure on him, which for a guy that was, highly recruited, went to Michigan last year.
Yeah.
Right. And, kind of this is his first real experience of starting. Right. I think they're kind of putting him in the right situations to succeed.
100%. And it's great that he has Lucky Sutton to kind of carry some of that burden. They have a very balanced offense, and that is very key. So they could be another one to watch too. Who would have thought?
Crazy. For Nevada, so they started their freshman quarterback Carter Jones because Purdy hasn't really gotten it done for them this year.
Mm-hmm.
That was just kind of a rough spot to make your first collegiate start versus that defense. I will have to say though, Nevada's defense, like, and this is kind of just typical of like Jeff Choate, like his defenses are kind of always feisty. It doesn't matter like how much he loses in like the portal every year. Like he's still got some players on that defense that, will still play hard. Like they were in that game 2 weeks ago versus Fresno.
Yeah.
Just from grinding it out. And then they brought in the freshman quarterback at Fresno 2 weeks ago, and he kind of gave him a little some flash there. So I think they might be good for like one upset, here in the coming weeks. Just because
I'm gonna head out.
Grind it out.
I'm gonna head out to Nevada for the Boise State game. So I mean, maybe that I wouldn't normally pick that one, but maybe I would rather we see the upset there than when San Jose State heads up there 2 weeks later.
Right. Yeah, and I know that's a personal game for Jeff Choate as well, just because of all the Boise ties and stuff.
Yes,
so.
And I love Choate. I think he is a very underrated coach because he's like a bad man. Like he motivates those kids, and they're like old school. They're tough. He's tough. The things he says, I remember I went to his first press conference in his first year after the game, and they just barely lost to SMU. I don't know if you remember this. I think it was last season. And, the way he spoke, he really cares about the kids. He cares about the game. And I like him. I think he's a tough, gritty guy. And I think he runs it's unfortunate they haven't, built up, but I do give him another year. I think they might have something there, but I don't know how well he does with NIL and the portal and all that stuff. Cause there's some coaches that really excel at that. And there's some that it's just not their forte. So I'm not sure what his stance is on that and how he utilizes it. But they are fun to watch because they play hard football. So that Boise State game will be interesting. I think it could be more interesting than
I'd agree. Yeah. I would agree. I mean that most of like their players, like their quarterback Brendan Lewis last year, the wide receiver Braham, and the linebacker Drew Watts, they're all at Memphis now.
I know, it's crazy. So I don't know. Some guys play the game and some guys don't, and it is what it is. But it's also hard. Nevada is not the most scenic of destinations to go. So it is not. And the stadium is nice, but it needs some like a facelift. And so I think it's hard to recruit in a place like that. So the fact that he can be competitive at all, I think is impressive, but they need a Mountain West win. So that's high on the to-do list right now for Nevada.
So I kind of liked Hawaii, just the optimism for them.
Yeah,
with Timmy
they're
Chang
a
in
feel
year
good
3.
team.
Yeah, they're just kind of like they were the team during the preseason that just kind of rolled into Vegas at media
Yeah.
day with just all this swagger, and I loved it. Like the fact
Yes.
that they already had, I thought, okay, this is gonna be the year that they have, the 6 wins and they're gonna be bowl eligible. But I didn't have 5 wins at this point of the season.
I
Really.
know. Yeah. I mean, their
Uh,
schedule, I think, has been helpful in
sure.
that. But I mean, starting off with Stanford and beating them was very good. And that kind of, I think, set the tone for the rest of it. But, they've had Arizona was a tough one, and that kind of showcased a little bit. But then you get Sam Houston, Portland State. So they've had a favorable schedule, which is good. But the last 2 wins, Air Force and Utah State, those I think are legitimate good wins. So.
Yeah, Timmy Chang had so much confidence in a freshman quarterback
I
like
know.
Alejado.
I love him. I think he's so fun to watch. I really like him.
Yeah, he's kind of he's the quarterback that you would kind of envision in running that offense, right?
Yeah. Yes, he fits it perfectly. I think he had 3 touchdown passes and then another running one. And he's just so versatile. He does throw a lot, though, to your point prior, which, I don't know, I think he was 54 passes he threw. I don't know if that's sustainable long term. That's
Right.
a lot. So they may have to kind of figure out how to temper that a little bit, but it's a lot. It's impressive that he can do that.
Yeah, their defense has kind of been the surprising unit.
Okay.
They're kind of getting it done out there. I didn't really catch too much of this game just because I was starting to get tired at midnight.
It was late.
But I supposedly there was a bunch of squirrely stuff going on, like onside kick to start the second half and stuff. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go back and maybe get a replay on the game. But that was I mean, I thought Utah State, they were coming off a bye in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Mendenhall's been pretty impressive with Bryson Barnes. Like they've been rock solid. I wasn't maybe really expecting them to win this game just because of all the preparation, but man, just credit to Hawaii because they've just been a fun Mountain West team. They're
it's more fun when they're good. When teams like that are good, the conference is it's more fun. So I'm excited for them. I didn't get to click over. There was so much going on at that time of night with the BYU game, and I was trying to watch, some ASU. And then I remember turning to my husband. And I was like, "There's still another game on." And he was like, "What?" But God bless them for always being on late night so that you can catch some football to go to sleep. But they are fun, and this conference is fun this year. So I can't wait to see what happens in the race.
Yeah, I know. Should be a whole lot of fun. Interested to see if San Diego State could keep the momentum going. If Hawaii's got, some more wins their way. Somebody right now hasn't been up to par so much right now, kind of, gets hot at the right time. So we'll see how that all plays out. You mentioned as far as like the top 25 headlines, you mentioned BYU.
Crazy.
Winning in double overtime. I've been very impressed with the Arizona team this year with Brennan.
Yes.
He had like the poor year 1. And then I kind of mentioned like in week 1, I was all like, when I was doing my podcast, I was just kind of like, hey, Brennan is one of these guys, like when there's kind of not a lot of spotlight on him or when they're kind of projected and not do so great. That's when he kind of exceeds expectations, right?
Yeah.
And, here they are, they're 4-2. They've kind of got some wins that you maybe wouldn't have expected. And I don't know, they're getting more out of their quarterback. Their defense has been rock solid. I know we brought a couple San Jose State kids over there that are, upperclassmen now, but they've been solid. And that BYU quarterback, the fact that he's a freshman and he's just got so much, he looks fearless out there.
Yeah. He's rumor has it, and I have not confirmed this yet, but he wears 47, which is a fullback number. Rumor has it in high school he was a fullback or he played fullback. And so I think somebody told me that. So God bless him for that. But yeah, he plays like a man much older than he is. So, and I was watching that game with my husband and he was like, this kid is fearless. And when I told him he was a freshman, it blew his mind. But he does a great job leading that team. I had to say I was pulling for Arizona a little bit because, Coach Brennan, obviously want to see him succeed. And I do have a soft place in my heart for all the former Pac-12 teams. Not a huge BYU fan, to be honest with you. Had some interesting run-ins with them over the years and seen some not so savory behavior. So I've always kind of been a little soured on that, but you have to give Kalani Sitake credit. He's done incredible things there. And that was a fun game. It went down to the wire. So
what'd you make of Indiana upsetting the Ducks? I kind of didn't have that chalked up. Man, I haven't really gotten too much, eyes on Indiana this year just because of all of the cream puffs that they play in the non-conference. But I have to say they look extremely physical on both sides of the ball, and I've always loved that wide receiver Elijah Surratt. He came from James Madison with Curt Cignetti.
Yeah,
Fernando Mendoza. I mean, I think he's kind of
very good.
jumping up on the NFL draft boards as we get closer here. That was impressive.
Yeah, you have to give Curt Cignetti credit. I mean, I'm shocked. Oregon to me has looked like such a great team all year, and I have so much faith in Dante Moore. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks ever, but there's something about the team that Cignetti's put together and the kind of guys that are there. And it's funny you say like, oh, I haven't, heard too much about him or seen too much of him. I think that's across the board. That's how people feel about Indiana. Nobody's really watched them too closely because they're kind of a flyover in that regard. I mean, obviously now we're paying attention because that was a very signature win in a very signature fashion. So I think eyes will be on them now. But prior to this, it was just like, okay, they're steady, they're good, but I didn't see what the big deal was. And now I kind of get it. Although, like you say, Fernando Mendoza has been definitely on my radar, especially with these quarterback rankings. He's made it in there a few weeks just because he's good with the football. He takes care of it. He's a kind of guy you can trust there under center. And I think that's indicative of Indiana, how they play, trying to play mistake-free football. But yeah, I did not think they were going to beat the Ducks by 10. I did not. So that was surprising.
The team that's kind of impressed me every single week has been the Texas Tech team.
They're so fun. Yeah.
They are so fun just because they can kind of beat you in like a multitude of ways.
Yes.
Right? Like they could have like the explosive, air raid type game, where they come at you and throw for like 400 yards. And then they have a game like they did versus Kansas where their running back Cameron Dickey has over 260 on the ground.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a name that I think just a lot of people need to keep an eye on. And it's a coach, Mac Leftwich, their offensive coordinator.
Okay.
So it's his first year in Lubbock. And he was at the Texas State team last year. He was their offensive coordinator there, had a high flying offense.
Okay.
And this is kind of a guy, like he's just one of these guys that I feel like is a young name. He's extremely young, like he's in his 30s, just kind of one of these new like offensive play callers that I think is going to have like a head coaching gig like in a few years. He came from the GJ Kinney Texas State team. He was at Incarnate Word as well, where he had like the play where he had that FCS team humming.
I love a guy that comes from small ball like that. I really think that when you come from that environment and then when you get to where you're at, you understand the process and you really know how to relate to guys. So I love that journey. Yeah.
That's a guy that, that knows how to run a high octane offense, but it's one of these things now with Texas Tech, like, you could say whatever you want, like what they did with like their roster and all the NIL, stuff and how they constructed it. But what's really impressed me is the fact that they're steamrolling teams at home and on the road every week. And they've done it with two different quarterbacks, and they do it with the ground game and their wide receivers. Like that Utah game is still aging very well.
Yeah.
From like 3-4 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
So I mean, they could very well win. Like it wouldn't shock me if they're like in the college football playoff semifinal game. Like, They're fun.
Yes, they are fun. And they've always been a big running team. I cannot believe that they sacked the quarterback and the backup quarterback 9 times in that game. That's just, at some point, you got to be like, what is going on here with the line play? But 9 times is just punishing. So I think that's the kind of team that they are a foot on the gas team. Like, they are all gas, no brakes. They're going to go after it. So, and that is important, down the stretch of the season, and then making a case for yourself in the college football playoffs. So they're the type of team that really will look good in the bracket and do well. So that's a good call. I'm excited. I think they play ASU next week at ASU. So I think that game would have been bigger, but I do think those teams they match up interestingly. So I think that's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, I love the G5 teams as well. The American has kind of had like tons of those this year, right? Because they're like North Texas was like the ultimate surprise team. The fact that they were like 6-0, and then they had the big game at South Florida.
Yeah, that was crazy.
South Florida was like down a touchdown, like nearing like halftime, and then they kind of just flipped the entire game with like turnovers and an opening drive touchdown. They're so quick on offense, and defensively, like, they're much improved. They're staying healthy. I can't wait to just see that race in the American, because that's probably where the G5 college football playoff teams coming from this year. And with all those teams, like Navy's in that conversation, South Florida, maybe North Texas is maybe erased from it, but if they win that championship or they sneak into it, maybe they're in there. I know I'm forgetting it. Memphis is one of the front runners.
Yeah, I think Memphis.
I don't know who's going to come out of that.
I think Memphis. I mean, well, the great thing about it is we will know as the season unfolds, because I think one of the biggest games that'll be coming up is Memphis plays Navy. When do they get? Oh no, they get them at the end. But I do think it's going to be Memphis that comes out of it because of their schedule, and because they had that win against Arkansas. I do think that that's such a important signature win for them. And I think that they're the most complete team. I would love it to be Navy, because I think Blake Horvath should win the Heisman. Like, just give it to him. The problem with Navy is their schedule, right? It's just not as strong. They do have a chance to beat Notre Dame, which would be a signature win. And then they'll obviously play Memphis assuming they're still ranked, so there's chances there to put on a show. But the problem with Navy is that they've had in some of their games, especially more recent ones, they've been slow to start. They give other teams kind of an opening, especially in that first half. And now to their credit, they finish it out and they play great down the stretch. And Horvath is a guy that you can count on. Like, you need a touchdown, like at the end of the game this weekend, like you need that, give it to him. He'll find the end zone. They'll get the 2-point conversion, but they should not be down like that to Temple. I mean, I think that's the message there, is like, we shouldn't be playing to catch up to a Temple team that you're clearly better than. So I do think at this point, it's probably Memphis, but it is interesting, to have all of these teams in the conversation. And I do love USF. I think Alex Golish is one of the most underrated coaches, play callers. He's so good with the game of football and what he does. And the way that they were calling plays in that game was so impressive. So it could be any of them. And that's what's so fun about the American right now. I mean, I think the American's always been fun, but this year people are getting to see it. They're catching the fever a little bit, which is good.
100%. Yeah. There's one G5 game that I'm excited to watch, just because it's got so many implications, is the Old Dominion James Madison game.
Okay.
It's on, like, you can actually watch it on TV, which I think is kind of significant. But the Old Dominion team's been kind of, as far as like the Week 8 game, that's like one I'm circling, because the JMU JMU's got like a new staff with the Signetti leaving, but they kind of have, they've kind of really just pivoted well with the new staff and, tons of new personnel. And then like this Old Dominion team, they're kind of they're so explosive on the ground. And it's with their quarterback, Colton Joseph. Like, they're averaging like 7 yards, like a rush, like something ridiculous. So that, and because the Sun Belt still has divisions,
Mm-hmm.
JMU and Old Dominion are in the same, like they're in the Sun Belt East, it is.
Yeah.
And they are still, jockeying for that. That's just kind of like the big regular season game in that conference,
Okay.
for a championship. So I'm going to have my eyes on that for sure for week 8.
I
That
like
was one that I had circled like 3 weeks ago. So I had to mention it, but those are just, I think they're just 2 fun teams. So
Yeah, James Madison, I always am rooting for them. They're just fun to watch, and they play good football. So I like that. I'll have to check in on that one.
before we kind of wrap things up here, Emily,
Mm-hmm.
the coaching carousel.
Oh my God.
I mean, I've never seen this many jobs wide open
Mm-hmm.
midway through the year.
Like big schools, like big
Yes.
places. It's crazy.
Right. Like the UCLA one a couple weeks ago was, I
That
mean, was,
started it all. That was like
yeah,
the
that started
beginning.
it all.
Deshaun
With
Foster just being let go after 3 games is
It's
crazy.
crazy. But Skipper's done a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
He's done
Yes.
awesome. Obviously, all the hype is on Jerry Neuheisel, the offensive coordinator, because of all of his,
Yeah.
because of the way that they're scoring now, and with all of his locker room celebrations. But man, Skipper did this at Fresno State last year. Like, he got a lot out of that team
Yeah.
for what was a bad situation. You're seeing it over there in UCLA, but the
Yeah.
James Franklin Penn State firing, I mean,
Crazy.
obviously massive. I
Yeah.
mean,
It
get
was like
104 wins when he was there. I mean, this, and for just Penn State's preseason expectations, where were they, the favorites to win the Natty this year? And the fact that you lose the whiteout game, you lose at UCLA, and then lose
and
the
you
game
lose
at
your starting.
Northwestern, and the quarterback gets
Yeah.
hurt now, Aller. It's just,
He has a history of having teams with good quarterbacks that go down to injuries. And we saw it with Sean Clifford a couple of years ago. This is what happens to him. And I don't think James Franklin is a bad coach, but he has never, in my opinion, been enough to lead them where they want to go. And I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint, because he clearly knows football and he's passionate about the game. He seems to be liked by the players. Like, there's never any bad stories coming out, that you hear of all this stuff, but I don't know what it is. But I'm not surprised that this happened, because I feel like it was time coming. Like, he was on a lot of borrowed time, and there was just too many things that happened, for them to be like, okay, enough. But the question is, who are they going to hire? Because whoever is coming in there, I mean, talk about pressure as a
yeah.
head coach to come in and do something. I think the best name that I've heard, and there's been a lot of them thrown out where I'm like, I don't see that, or I don't understand that. But I think the best one, and the one I like the most, which sucks for this school, is Matt Rule. I do love Matt Rule. I think he's a great coach. I think he'd be a good fit, but that sucks for Nebraska. So I feel
Yeah,
for
that
them.
was the one I was gonna throw at you.
Yeah,
that one does make some
it
sense.
does make sense. I could see it being a thing. And he's the kind of guy that I could see in that program, because the kind of guy he is and the kind of coaching he does, but that sucks.
Yeah. The other one that didn't shock me was the Oregon State Trent Bray one.
It shocked me that they did it now. That, I mean, I'm not surprised, because they're having the worst season when they were actually predicted to be pretty good.
Right.
And they have a lot of good players. I did a story on Anthony Hankerson. I went out there for the spring game, and they looked great. I mean, the quarterback was pretty good. Hankerson is in my opinion, was one of the best running backs. So to see this falter so badly was very surprising, but I didn't think they would part ways like this. That's crazy.
Yeah. I saw their game on TV versus Houston on a Friday night, 2 weeks ago now, and that was kind of the game for them, where it's like, all right, if the fact they dominated the game for like 58 minutes.
I know.
And then they lose in overtime. I'm like, man. But yeah, I love Hankerson. Their wide receiver Trent Walker is having a really good year.
They have a good tight end too.
Plays been all over the place, but man, I was at that stadium last year, and I know they went 5-7. And it's like, man, that's a really good environment. It was just Jonathan Smith when he left. He just put them in such a bad spot, and then with the uncertainty with the conference and stuff like that, I know they were kind of just trying to do all the in-house hire and stuff like that, because I think that's the way they like to do things. But with them going into the Pac-12 now, they might have to maybe branch out with this move.
Yeah.
Maybe outside of maybe somebody that's already established there.
Yeah, you got to go outside. I was not surprised about Trent Dilfer's firing.
Oh, I wasn't either.
Yeah, that one felt like it was coming. I'm just surprised that they waited. I'm surprised they didn't do it after last year.
Right.
I'm surprised that they gave him this season, but it just, I like Trent Dilfer also, but it just wasn't a fit. And that's a hard, UAB is not an easy place to win, to create a winning culture there. But I don't know. I feel bad for that, but I think he left with a 9-21 record. That's tough.
Yeah, that's not getting it done.
It doesn't always translate, is what we can learn from that. But
well, Emily, thanks for coming on, just talking some ball. This was a whole lot of fun. Between the Mountain West, the top 25. I mean, the seasons was already heating up, but now I guess just with all of the changes and such, and teams being some surprise teams, and all the preseason expectations on some teams and the stock falling, we kind of got like a wide open race, not only in some of the conferences, but just the national championship is kind of, you can make a case for a lot of teams.
I know, it's exciting. It's an exciting time. So I think this week 8 is going to be very telling for some Mountain West movement. So it'll be a fun one to watch.
Before we close things out, where can people find your work and what you're doing for the rest of the season?
For sure. So you guys can follow me on Twitter at Emilnem, EMILNEM. And you can find my work with the Pro Football Network, PFSN. I do weekly quarterbacks rankings. I do feature stories there. So definitely check out that if you're very into mock drafts. We do some really excellent mock drafts, and our analytics are great. So definitely check out PFSN.
Awesome. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Sports Sentiment. Once again, I am your host, Nick Urias, and be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.